This next section that you're seeing, this is all like wellness stuff. Tinctures that get made. Sometimes I do some tinctures. All of your herbals for your tinctures. So there's like calendula and chamomile and all kinds of things, raspberry leaf, all the things you can think of. So those are all like wellness items. And then it kind of flows into teas. There's teas through here, and then sweeteners. Some sweeteners take over, whether that's agave, honey, different kinds of sugars that we use. We don't usually use just white sugar. That's very rare. I try to at least use the less processed. So sometimes that's the sucanut, tamarind sugar, things like coconut sugar, a lot of honey, a lot of maple. So that's what flows into the next section. As you get over to the corner of the room, we have oils. So there's like coconut oil, olive oil, avocado oil. No seed oils. You won't find those here. And salts, freeze-dried onions, freeze-dried green onions, and we get into a few canned goods. So the majority of our canned goods is stored down in our shop, and maybe you've seen that on our freezer video. There's a blip of the canned goods. So canned goods, they take up a lot of space. I don't have room for it up at the house, so we store that at the shop, which is downtown over the hill. And there's a big shelf full of canned goods. So I bring up what we're going to use for maybe a week or two at a time, and I like to keep just like 1 or 2 jars of everything that we can in here, and then there's some overflow in my shop area in the back of the house. So this would be, there's raisins, chocolate chips, millet, sorghum, and then some canned items in this area, and the sugars are there, so for reference. Moving over. Next section, these are freeze-dried items, and this is all like different kinds of freeze-dried peppers that we use for our primary seasonings. We'll use a lot of those in different seasoning blends. So we try to do all of our seasoning blends, like your taco seasoning. I can't think of them off my head, but anything, my husband does a lot of barbecue, so anything that'll have peppers in it or a pepper base, whether that's a mild pepper, a sweet pepper, whatever, that's where they start. And so a few canned goods that I buy from the store that I can't produce, whatever, I'll purchase, and a few snacky things like pistachios that my husband loves, and some stuff like that, a few crackers, kind of flows into that section. Rice. It's not always convenient to get out a 5-gallon bucket when you're making dinner. And so seeing that the pantry is off of the kitchen, but it's still not like right in your main cooking area. So I'll have smaller containers often of the bigger bucket items. So that's where that kind of comes from and flows into. So at the top of this one, behind some of the freeze-dried stuff, is like bigger containers of grains, dried beans, things like that. This next section over here is more like baking items. So cornstarch, tapioca starch, millet flour, rice flour, almond flour. Because we are primarily gluten-free around here, 90%, I guess, this is different kinds of flours, because that just takes up a lot of space because you don't have just one container of flour that you can use. And we do, I have a grain mill. I try to do as much grains as possible, but I kind of fluctuate, and when I don't have time, it seems like I fall out of that rhythm, and I personally would just like to get better at that and use just like all grains. So then we have some vinegars, cocoa powder, almond flour, and then more different kinds of flours again. So honestly, it kind of looks like chaos in here, but I thought I would share because people have asked again, and it's building a pantry, a homestead pantry is, or an ingredient household pantry, takes a long time. It's not something that you can just do on a weekend and decide that you're going to have a big homestead pantry. It's a building process, and it takes a lot of years of experience, honestly, or learning, cooking, and using whatever you need the most, what you tend to have on hand, what you're missing, and the habit of not running to the grocery store every time you're missing an ingredient. I was always an ingredient household, but we lived closer to town at the time, and we were just like 10 minutes from the grocery store. So if somebody wanted ice cream in the evening, it was like, we can run to town and get ice cream, not a big deal. When we moved, we are an hour from town. And so that changes your thinking a lot, because you're not going to run to the store for ice cream when it's going to be a 2-hour round trip. So things changed drastically, and we really had to change our thinking.